Welcome back to the foundry. Of course, I'm not really at the foundry at the moment. I'm out in some snowy weather, but I thought I'd do a review on the tires I've been running on this truck. It's a 99 Ram 2500 4x4 diesel. And the tires I'm running are GoodYear Wrangler Duratracs. They are made in the USA. They're 10 plies, of course, 3/4 ton truck, so you want a good ply rating there. But this is the first time I've had it in the snow, and this is mostly, it's more sleet than snow. It's actually pretty hard. I'm in two-wheel drive now, and it's getting around, I would say fine, really. I mean, I'll hit a drift once in a while, and it'll spin pretty good. But I'm on a hill now, but if you just drive normal, they seem to be gripping really well. So I'll get to where I'm going and get out, and we'll look at the tires, and I'll tell you the experience I've had with them on the highway, in town, off-road, and which includes mud and now some snow and ice. I was just playing around a little bit there. We don't get snow very often. So these tires are made in the USA according to the sidewall. They're 285 75 16s, 10 plies. They're old tires. Age-wise, the tread is still excellent. I bet they don't have, I don't know. It's one bad thing about this review is I'm going to have to ballpark the mileage. I'm thinking like 20,000 miles, but they are an older tire. But a few things I like about them is they're a hybrid. I think they're considered ATs. It may actually say in the lettering. Let's see, Wrangler. Yeah, it just says Duratrac. I think they're considered ATs, but they're a hybrid, so they're a fairly aggressive AT. But one thing I like about them is they're not actually all that noisy on the road. I mean, they're a little more noisy than, let's say, let's see what I had on my F350 Toyo Open Country AT3s. And that tire was a little more quiet than this one, but it also wasn't as aggressive. I mean, there's always going to be a give and take on that. I do like the fact that they've got pretty aggressive side lugs and side wall, because I do run this truck off-road for work on roads that are very seldom maintained. And when I do that, you know, more times than not, I'm pulling a trailer that's usually around 5,000 pounds. So I've been pretty happy with them in that regard. Now, wet and snowy conditions, you see these little squiggly lines in the tread. That is to displace water. And I have found that on wet asphalt, I've never had a situation to where I felt like the truck wasn't getting adequate traction. I drive, typically I drive fairly normal. I'm not a super aggressive driver, but I'm not 90 years old either. So I'd say average driving conditions. They do pretty well on wet asphalt. Again, the highway noise isn't bad. They seem to do fine in that regard. Around town, it's not quite as smooth as before these. I had a Kelly all-terrain, which was really more closely related to what I would call a street radial. And they were a smoother tire than these. But like I said, there's always going to be a give and take when you go to a more aggressive tread pattern. It's just the way it is. You just have to kind of know that going into the deal. Now, on this snow, of course, I was playing around earlier, but thus far I have not needed four-wheel drive. Now, there's some snow mixed in it now, but it's primarily sleet. It's pretty hard packed, as you can see. So if you drive responsibly, you really don't need four-wheel drive. Even on the steep hills that I was on, I just kind of babied it and really didn't have that much problem. Now, when the daytime temps get above freezing, which they haven't yet, but when they do, this will start to melt. Nighttime rolls around, it refreezes, and that next morning is when you're going to have some really slick conditions, in which case four-wheel drive will probably be required unless you've got some weight in the bed. In this case, I don't have much weight in the bed. So, but if you did with these tires, I would say you could still get around if you had to. In two-wheel drive, you just have to be extra careful. Four-wheel drive, you won't have a problem at all. So that tread also has provisions for, it's hard to tell because I think I can see it on this other one better, but you can spike these tires. Where did I see that? Maybe it was back here. These little holes are for thread end spikes. I guess that's what you call them. I'm down south. We just don't get enough of this kind of weather to justify putting spikes in anything, but they are set up for that if that's something that you're interested in. But they've held up to the age and weather. I would say they're probably about 10 years old, and they've held up to the weather pretty good, it would appear. And Goodyear has obviously been in the tire business forever. So by this point in that deal, they make a very good carcass of a tire. Just the structure, not even talking about tread, just the structure of the tire. I run Goodyear Wrangler Authorities on my F-250. Those tires are a little over 10 years old. I do have a review on that. You can check in my channel. But these tires are very similar. The tread pattern is slightly different. I would say that these are slightly more aggressive. The side lugs are spread out further than the Authorities. But overall, it's a very similar tire. The Authorities are a little bit quieter because of the tread spacing, but I hadn't had any trouble out of either one, off-road or on-road. So either of these tires I've been pretty happy with. They are pricey. If you're looking for an economy tire, this is not going to be the tire for you. I haven't actually checked on them recently, but as of I think it was about a year ago, I looked. It seemed to me like they were like $1,500 for a set of 4 in these 285s, 10 plies, and you know, you can get an import tire, a cheaper import tire online for like $900, but odds are it's not going to have the quality of construction, I wouldn't think. I have run the cheaper tires, and that truck over there's got Lexani's on it, which is an import, and I bought those in 2015, and they've held up good. But that truck does not see the type of service this truck sees. This truck carries a lot of weight, pulls trailers, goes off-road, and I want something that's going to hold up to gravel, rocks, and these tires have done that. So just purely as a cosmetic thing, I do like the visual appeal of these tires. I like the aggressive sidewall. It looks really good. I'm not a huge fan of the way they have done this center tread. It puts me in mind of like the old mud and snow tires you used to get in the 70s and 80s. But you know, overall, really not too bad. Not a bad looking tire. So just to recap, no pun intended, city and highway driving, I think they do pretty well for what they are. They're obviously not a street radial, so expect a little bit of noise. Expect it to ride maybe a little bit rougher than it would with a street tire, but that's to be expected. Off-road, very happy with them. I can't think of any cons, just hard, deal breakers with these tires. They seem to be holding up to the miles fine. They're not wearing funny. Of course, the trucks and Dodges are not easy on tires, second-gen Dodges especially. And they seem to be holding up pretty well. So there's that bit of information for you. If you got anything out of it, do me a favor, hit thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next one.